This week's parsha is about the Mabul, and then you have the bris of Hashem. And when people write the date on this parsha, they write it of Aleph or Beis of the parsha where Hashem is making his bris with the world, not to destroy the world. And then you have the Aflaga, the Tower of Dispersion. You find, I believe it's the Ramban, points out how the years become less after the flood. Even Shem, who lived before the flood, but most of his life was after the flood, that there was a serious drop in lifespan after that. And then you have, by the time of the Aflaga, you have again a drop in lifespan until by the end of the Parsha, people are living to about 200 years. And Rashi points out with the story of Avram and Sarah, that why was it such a big deal for Avram to have a kid at that age? In the earlier generations had even later, because the Kayach Adama is less. The Kayach inside of the ground, the nutritional amount and the strength that people naturally had from the food was less. But in terms of the lifespan, the Ramban, I believe it's the Ramban, actually points out that it's in Mikrois Gedolos, that you have the air becoming much less after the flood, and again because of the sins of the Aflaga. Now you can see that what some people, their concerns today would kind of be very similar to somebody who was from the generation of the flood but doesn't recognize and didn't take in the lesson that's from Hashem. It's worth noting. It's also worth noting that these two parshiyos, Bereshis and Noach, form the first parshiyos of the Torah because they're the first things that we need to learn. The first thing we explained last week, how Adam Arishan had all kinds of thoughts about why he needs to do this sin of the tree. And they were noble thoughts. He wants to purify the world. He wants to purify the only part that's not there. But they weren't listening to Hashem. And the simple thing is to listen to Hashem, and that's true on all levels, on levels that are above any kind of sophistication. Hashem knows better and cares better. When you have also the flood, it shows to listen to Hashem. There, it's less complicated. They did terrible sins, and they were destroyed. But Hashem has every neshama as children, and therefore Hashem's caring about the deeds of the world is a real caring and a real concern, and it affects, which goes into what they were thinking. The Der Hamabel first were thinking that there is Hashem, but he could care less about small things, and that's totally wrong, because once he made the world, for a person to move their hand, millions of things have to happen, the nerves have to be working exactly, and this has to happen, and the amount of energy, the amount of dedication that Hashem has to make any single person is tremendous, and we see Hashem leading us throughout all aspects of our life. So them saying, Hashem doesn't care about the deeds of people? No, 100% not. Once Hashem made the people and cares about the people, Hashem truly cares about the deeds of the people, because Hashem cares about the people. He's called his children. Then you have the Der Aflaga, where they have the opposite thing. Hashem is involved in the world, but they thought they could control Hashem. No, Hashem's also not just involved in the world, but higher than the world and removed from the world. The Rebbe Shab's first Maimer that's printed, the first Maimer was on Chol Hamoed Sukkos in Mem Gimel, and that one is printed in Hatamim, Keser Yitnu L'cha. But the first Maimer that's printed is about the Der Aflaga and how they are a reincarnation of the Der that went out of Mitzrayim. And the Rebbe has an explanation. The Rebbe has a Maimer on Parshas Mishpatim where he goes into how he builds on that topic, where they took things that were in the realm of people and put them in the realm of Hashem and put them in the realm of people, and that's why it says when they built the tower that they made the stone for a brick. They took stones which Hashem makes, and they didn't see the difference between that and bricks which people make. They thought they could control Hashem. And so they were enslaved to get rid of this sin from their nefesh. They were enslaved with bricks and with stones. And then, of course, Hashem changes it around, and the Rebbe says, in this generation, we can elevate it. Once we've purified it, it's one thing, but now we can elevate it after the purification, where a stone is called a letter, and a house is made by people, it's called the words, and there's words within Torah, and there are words within Tefillah, and Hashem makes the words of Torah, but we make the words of Tefillah. Our davening is what we make, and our connection with Hashem. That also, by the way, connects with the two Pirushim, which are some of the most known on the word Teva, ark. The ark is called a Teva, and it's called a Teva because Teva also, well, not because, but Teva also means a word. And it says when you want to connect with Hashem, when you want to stay away from everything else, Bayal HaTeva, come to the Teva, come to the ark. Come to the ark means come to the words of Torah, come to the words of davening. There are two teves that we have to save us from things. And even though the water was a purification, the water itself is an unwanted thing. And in future generations, the Alter Rebbe explains that the water is the tirdes hapanasa. There's work for panasa, but there shouldn't be worries about Hashem taking care of us. And all of those worries, though, can't quench the love that a Jew has within him. And we can overcome that and connect with Hashem and recognize we have to work in the world for Hashem, but not to worry. Hashem is leading us, and we can work in a faithful way to Hashem, and then Hashem will bring down the brachas in all of our works. And again, the main point of these first two parshiyos is to just listen to the word of Hashem, and that opens up all brachas, all blessings. Good Erev Shabbos. And please support Chabad of Tzfas, which is sponsoring these shiurim.